Hey everybody, Buzz here from Mudhole Custom Tackle, the instructional staff. We're going to take this segment and talk a little bit about cork inlays and using their cork and EVA cutting jigs to do some decorative inlays into your grips. Very simple to do. With a little bit of practice, you're going to have a lot of fun. And we're going to actually take you through step by step on how to do a simple checkerboard. Now there's two different materials that we're going to be working with when we do cork inlays most of the time. And that's natural cork, like you see right here, or burl cork. And if we're not doing cork, we're using EVA. And EVA is the same foam material that's made fishing rod grips are made out of, but it is in a cork width configuration, and we're going to cut those up and use those for inlays. So we're going to go through some very basic jig inlays for you today on how you can do this at home. First thing you're going to need are some cork cutting jigs. You've got several of the jigs. Some of them are in pie-shaped configurations, which we'll show you. You've also got cork jigs where you can cut in and inlay diamonds into your grips. And you've got what we call a trim ring jig, which you'll use a lot if you start doing inlays or trim rings on some of your custom grips. If you're going to use cork as your medium, be it natural cork or burl cork, we want to put the pieces of those cork together with Elmer's glue. And to do that, you're going to take the pieces, disposable rod building brush, and just paint that Elmer's glue on that cork very, very thin, just to the point of getting that cork face wet. If you add too much glue, you're going to have glue lines and your pieces aren't going to hold up. If you're not going to use cork, be it natural or burl cork, then we're going to use EVA. And EVA comes in many sizes, colors, and patterns. But the thing to hold EVA together is weldwood contact cement. And again, we're going to hold the pieces together by taking a disposable brush and painting that contact cement right onto the pieces that we want to put together. And that's going to hold everything in place until you get it sanded. We'll show you on a later segment how to actually shape these grips, but for right now, we're just going to do inlays. So let's go through on how to do a checkerboard inlay. Very simple. And with these same jigs that we're using, you can do a checkerboard pattern, a southwest pattern, zigzag patterns. One of the shop minions in my rod shop is very good at doing a spider inlay, where she'll take a diamond from the diamond jig, put it in the middle of the EVA, and then actually cut out legs for that spider on an inlay. So with these two simple jigs, there's a lot of different things you can do. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of this pink EVA and we're going to cut it to the size of a cork ring, widthwise. We drop it into our pie-shaped jig, and then using a jeweler saw, which Mudhole sells with the jigs, comes with a whole box of blades. We simply put that down, and then we begin sawing through the piece, just like this. And you saw all the way down until you run through the cork or the EVA entirely. You'll feel it. You'll feel the difference on the blade when it hits metal. You're going to do this until you've cut every one of these pie shapes out of here, so that you've got pie shapes in pink. Now we're going to remove this. You can simply knock those pieces out. Take a piece of black, put the black in here, and cut it into pie shapes. Once we did that, we alternated pink and black pie shapes, and using weldwood contact cement, we painted the sides of the pie shapes, reassembled them into a piece that looks like a cork ring. And you can see on here, we zip tied these things shut until they're dry. 30 minutes is plenty. Once they're dry, we remove that zip tie and we place the zip tie into a trim ring jig. That's this thing right here. So instead of coming down from the top, like we did with the pie shapes, this cuts from the side. So we have the piece in here, and then we just cut all the way through sideways, horizontally, and that will cut out various size trim rings. You can cut all different thicknesses of trim rings to inlay into the grips. I think we have an example right here that you'll be able to see where we used it for different thicknesses of trim rings using this trim ring cutter. Okay, so to go back to what we're doing, we put this piece into the trim ring cutter and we cut through until we came up with a half a dozen of these thin pie-shaped pieces that are now in alternating pink and black. Taking weldwood contact cement, we reassembled these pieces and put them in different patterns so that we're alternating the checkers, the pink and the black checkers on this piece. Did that with contact cement. Then we put some trim rings and some black on both ends, and we shaped this on a power wrapper with drywall sanding screen. And you have a checkerboard inlay into your grip. This took a lot longer to explain it than it does to do it. Not considering drying time, this is about a 10 or 15 minute grip. Very easy to do, but if you've got the proper equipment with these cork cutting jigs in different configurations, jeweler's saw with a good supply of blades, weldwood contact cement, Elmer's glue, and a little bit of imagination, you can do just about any pattern into a grip that you want. So that is cork or EVA inlays using Mudhole's jigs. If you want to get into custom grips, strongly suggest you look into it. And we like to make mock-ups in my shop, which means we'll take a piece of scrap blank and we will make a mock-up before we put it on a rod. Here's a classic example of a mock-up. We did a mock-up of a checkerboard. We did a mock-up of trim rings. Okay, very, very easy to do, but we put it on a rod to see what it looked like, or on a piece of scrap, before we put it on the rod. And although you use up a little bit of material, it's going to give you a lot better idea as to what it's going to look like once it's on the rod. So that's all I have for inlays. If you have any questions on how to use them or how to use the materials, just give the technical people at Mudhole a call. They'll be happy to walk you through the steps on how to do all of these grips.